January 24th, 2023. A quiet street in Duxbury, Massachusetts. A father comes home from a quick errand and steps into the worst moment of his life. By the time police arrived, 3 children were dead. Their mother was on the ground outside, having just jumped from a second-story window. I'm not here to guess what happened before a jury does. I'm here to make sure you actually understand what's known so far. 2.5 years later, that mother is standing trial for their murders. And this week, jurors heard the actual sound of that morning unraveling. Lindsay and Patrick Clancy met in 2013, moved in together 2 years later, and went on to have 3 children, Cora, Dawson, and Callan, the youngest just 8 months old at the time of her death. According to testimony from Patrick Clancy, who took the stand as the prosecution's first witness and spent 2 full days there, Lindsay's mental health worsened sharply in December 2022 after a doctor increased her dosage of the medication Seroquel. In the weeks that followed, she was hospitalized multiple times, including a multi-day stay at a locked psychiatric ward in early January. Released, according to her attorneys, before her symptoms had fully resolved. Patrick testified that in December 2022, Lindsay told her own father she wanted to die by suicide. The prosecution doesn't dispute that she struggled. What they dispute is what that struggle means for what happened next. Both sides laid out their case Monday, July 27th, and the gap between them is stark. Prosecutor Jennifer Sprague told the jury Clancy was, in her words, not a victim of her illness, but a woman who understood exactly what she was doing. The state's evidence includes a bag of prescription pills entered directly into the trial record. Part of an effort to show a documented pattern of medication changes, the prosecution says didn't erase her judgment. Clancy's defense attorney offered a starkly different account. According to her lawyer, on the day of the killings, Clancy said she heard a voice telling her, "This is your last chance. Kill the children so you can kill yourself." Her attorney also stated she had undiagnosed bipolar disorder and that antidepressants prescribed after Callan's birth worsened her condition rather than helped it. I want to be precise here. This account comes from her defense attorney's opening statement, not from independent testimony or evidence. It's the defense's framing of events, presented as their theory of the case, not an established fact. On Wednesday, jurors heard the roughly 7-minute 911 call Patrick Clancy made after returning home. On the recording, he can be heard speaking with Lindsay, finding her badly injured and bleeding in the yard after her fall from the window. He tells the dispatcher he's going to check on the children. Moments later, he's heard crying out after finding them in the basement, as a confused dispatcher repeatedly asks what happened. Lindsay Clancy reportedly sobbed in the courtroom as the call was played. This was, by multiple accounts, one of the most difficult moments of the trial so far. For the jury, for the family, and by all appearances, for Clancy herself. Thursday, the trial's 3rd day, brought a different kind of testimony. 10 first responders, officers and paramedics who were on scene that night, describing what they found and how quickly things escalated once they arrived. One officer testified that Lindsay Clancy was semi-conscious on the ground in the backyard when he arrived, and that the cuts on her wrists and neck weren't actively bleeding at that point. Paramedics testified they treated her for a possible opioid overdose during transport to the hospital. The defense, in cross-examination, raised the cold weather and snow that night as a possible factor affecting her injuries and blood flow. an early sign of how the defense intends to use the physical evidence of her own injuries as part of their broader argument about her mental state that night. Court ended early Thursday. Jurors were dismissed around noon, when the prosecution ran out of witnesses to call for the day. Today, Friday, July 31st, the jury is doing something rare, physically visiting the Duxbury home where the children died. Judge William Sullivan authorized the visit, allowing jurors to walk the property while attorneys from both sides point out what they consider significant features of the layout. Afterward, the jury returns to the courtroom to continue hearing from the prosecution's witnesses. Home visits like this aren't common, but they happen in cases where the physical layout of a scene matters to understanding testimony. Where things were found, how far someone could see or hear from one room to another. Details that photographs alone don't always convey clearly. It's worth pausing here, because this term gets thrown around loosely in true crime coverage, and it deserves to be explained properly. Postpartum psychosis is a rare but medically recognized condition that can emerge in the weeks or months after childbirth, involving symptoms like delusions, hallucinations, or a break from reality, distinct from the far more common postpartum depression. It's considered a psychiatric emergency, linked to the stress, sleep deprivation, and hormonal changes that follow childbirth. The defense's position is that Lindsay was experiencing this, compounded by medication side effects, at the time of the killings. Here's what makes Massachusetts different from what you might expect from movies and TV. The state doesn't use the word insanity in court. The legal term is lack of criminal responsibility, governed by a standard from a 1967 case called Commonwealth v. McHowell. Under that standard, a defendant isn't criminally responsible if, because of a mental disease or defect, they either couldn't understand that what they were doing was wrong, or couldn't control their behavior to follow the law. And once the defense raises this issue with credible evidence, the burden flips. It becomes the prosecution's job to prove, beyond a reasonable doubt, that she was criminally responsible despite her mental state, not the defense's job to prove she wasn't. Clancy faces life in prison, without parole, if convicted of murder as charged. If the jury instead finds she wasn't criminally responsible due to mental illness, she would be committed to a state mental health facility, not simply released. Both possible outcomes carry serious, long-term consequences. Patrick Clancy has said in interviews that he forgives his ex-wife, describing her as someone he views as ill rather than evil. This trial marked the first time he'd seen her since the killings. The trial is expected to run 6 to 8 weeks total, with testimony expected to lean heavily on dueling psychiatric and medical experts as it continues. That's where things stand after the first 3 days of testimony and today's home visit. We'll be following this closely as more testimony comes in. We'll keep following this the same way we always do, carefully and only with what's actually been proven.